Well, never say never. My plans were not to add any additional radios to my collection and only work or repair, restore radios that I've already purchased over the years. This little beautiful set, my guess is from the early to mid 1930s, kind of caught my eye. My sister, good friends with someone that owns an antique store that's shutting their doors down, and they happen to have this along with many other vintage radios. But this one caught my eye, not just for the design, but the woodworking challenge as well. One of my favorites, a little missing veneer and some chip veneer. But overall, the cabinet's really not in bad shape. But the design itself of the cabinet is unusual and nothing like I have in my collection. You can see these cutouts, and I think I recall there was a Philco radio made very, very similar to this with this round cutout. And the dial facing information itself is back behind on the back side or inside the chassis. And that appears to be the way this is also made. But you got a beautiful small strip of inlay here at the top, the bottom. Again, this missing veneer here on the bottom. Some chips here, and of course here, and here, and here. And the cabinet itself is starting to separate. And one thing, when they drop it off, they told me to be extremely careful with it. It appears that there's no fasteners or anything that holds the chassis inside the wooden cabinet. But I think this is just solid wood on the sides. And both sides are in pretty good shape, actually. They're not bad at all. So I think this thing will strip and clean up rather well. Anyway, just looking at the front of the radio, I can't find any identification, nor just looking at the chassis. Now it does look like something was attached here. You can see I've got two nail holes, but this piece is missing, so I'm not sure if there was a metal tag there, a brass tag, that had the information for the radio or not. So that's kind of a bummer that that's missing, but again, just looking at it, you can tell that's got to be the original grill cloth. This grill cutout area is odd. It's loose. It's very, very thin, so I'm not sure if there was another layer on top of this or the finish itself was done this way. But you can see some trace marks with a pencil along the edges, which strikes me as odd as well. So once I get that out, we'll look at it and see possibly why. So let's pull this thing out real quick and take a look at the chassis together for the first time. I've only looked at it from the back side, noticed there was a lot of dust and dirt, and has a kind of a funky odor to it, one that reminds me of maybe some mice or something in there at some point in time. Something else we'll look at closer here in a little bit too. When I was trying to identify the back, she shot me some photos. You can see April 7th, 1939, and a name here on the back of the chassis itself. So I'll try to preserve that as well. And it looks like there's some additional writing over in this area also that we'll have to look at closer here in just a bit. And you can see what appears to be the first RF coil, maybe referred to as the antenna coil. And my guess is this appears again to be a TRF, because I don't see any IF cans. There should be a secondary coil underneath, but this thing is just dangling in the air. And you can see a fastener here, so I'm not sure what this was mounted on at one time, if this is even original or not. So fairly unique. Again, I have no idea of the tubes that are in use in the radio itself. We'll take a look at those here together. Okay, I double checked and there's no fasteners or anything that holds this chassis in. So I'm going to slide it out here using the power cord and the base of this tube socket. It should just slide right out. Good thing is, hopefully nobody's plugged it in because the AC cord's been cut off. That's a good thing. And we'll take a look in the wooden cabinet here in just a bit, but let's take a closer look here at the chassis itself and see what we've got. So I can't really see 11656 maybe, Clark. I wonder if that's someone that worked on the set at some point in time. And then you can see here on the side, April 7th, 1939 in Chamus. That's very cool. Anyway, I just saw underneath for the first time, but we'll come back to that. Let me flip on another light here, just so we can see here just a little better. Looks like I've got one tube here getting ready to pop out of the tube socket. And let's look at the front side first. So it appears to be a 5-inch speaker. And there's what I was talking about. There's the dial information. They just appear to be like a translucent plastic. And they must be nailed in from the rear. Matter of fact, there's a small nail right there that's showing up. So what I thought may be just a design flaw or something, or maybe not the original cabinet. I'm assuming it is original. And these are fastened in to the back side of the cabinet itself. Again, a little 5-inch speaker. And let's see, yep, there is a fill coil, you can see there. And there's the output transformer that resides on the top. It looks like your typical TRF design, with a couple exceptions here. If I can back up here, we can capture this on camera right here. There's a pilot lamp or a light here for the volume control, and I noticed the same over here on this side right here. So that's an interesting design for sure. Let me grab a light here so we can take a closer look at that. Right down in that area, just on the front side of the tuning condenser, you can see another lamp there that would illuminate the dial frequency area. And again, that you can see that that's a translucent material. So that's my first. That's a pretty cool design. I can't ever recall having a TRF in my collection that was backlit as such. So that's pretty neat. Anyway, you can see what appears to be a lot of insulation and other parts and pieces kind of laying there in the chassis, so on the top side. And again, I had mentioned we got a cut wire right here, so I'm not sure if that's was a gimmick or if it's broke off of the coil. We'll have to do some additional investigation there. The tuning condenser's tight, but it's not seized up. That's a good thing. And I hadn't even tried the on-off switch. It's a little tight as well, but I've had tighter ones, that's for sure. Let's flip it over here and take a look at the underneath side. Let's see if I can get a better angle here. That's pretty cool. It looks like it's untouched, actually. And I'm not sure if that's another transformer here underneath. Again, the output transformer appeared to be on top by the speaker, so maybe this is just a choke or something. we'll look and see how everything's wired in, and then you can see I've got a little capacitor bank here as well. Everything looks to be original underneath, and that's the way I like to find them. You guys just followed along with that field code 611. I was checking for my dad. Again, someone had worked in there and a few missing parts clipped out. So it makes it a little more time consuming when you got to go line item by line item. Just make sure everything's accounted for. And it looks like there's a name here too on the capacitor on this side. I can't make that out from my angle, but you guys may be able to make it out. We'll clean that up just a bit and take a closer look at the can, see who made this. Again, I cannot find any information itself on the radio. I looked at some of my catalogs and never could locate a photo that looked like this. Let's pull the tubes out now and document what we have. I'll start with this front tube here. Maybe a 6 Z5. That's interesting. And I can tell for sure this one is definitely a 6 Z5. And this appears to be the audio output tube, just based on the size of the tube. It's a field code tube. And right there it is. It's a 43. And that would be an audio output tube. Let me grab my small screwdriver here real quick and get this grid cap off. And another wire that goes nowhere, but this is most likely the antenna lead itself. To see if I can get underneath this. Looks like I got just maybe a small gap there.
Heavy precipitation has been detected near your location.
That's nice to know. Looks like we've got some rain coming in. And I just bent the heck out of my screwdriver tip. Wow, that thing is really on there. Let me grab something a little heavier here. Alright, let's go for the next size up here. My guess is there's some rust or something underneath there. That thing is tight on that cap. Okay, looks like a 6 Charlie 6. And then one more here with the goat tube shield. I don't think I've ever had any in there that tight. That's crazy. Even this old goat shield is rusted up just a bit. And your typical 6D6. So this would be your first RF amp, assuming that is correct. And a Triad brand. Interesting. Okay, I think I've got those in the order that they came out, just laying there. I'm going to go back and look at this first tube that we pulled out. And it does appear to be the 6Z5. And ditto for this one. So two 6Z5s, followed by the 43. And we said this one was a 6C6, and then the 6 Delta 6. And then lots of other stuff. It's been laying around up in here at some point in time. Here's the speaker itself, American reproducer. Alright, let's do some quick research here. See if we can identify the tube complement using the grillcloth.com database. Definitely interesting here. I put, again, you can see 5 tubes in, and I put the 6Z5 and didn't even get a match here. And that's looking at both for all 3 databases. So if I just look at the 6Z5, I can maybe narrow down things here and find something that's close, but just at a glance I don't see anything that uses a type 43 output tube. Interesting. I'm going to have to maybe do a little small hand-drawn schematic from underneath and just look at it. Seems odd that I would have 2 rectifier tubes, but I don't think I've ever had a set that had a 6Z5 rectifier. And now I've got a set that has it, and I've got 2 rectifier tubes in place. Also took a moment here just to glance and make sure the tube sockets themselves are not notated. And I don't see any identification on those. Sometimes you'll get lucky and see those marked up. Of course, I've seen them marked before and not actually match the schematic. Let me flip this thing over again. The 2 rectifier tubes, again, that being the 6Z5, both reside here. Let me just flip it over here and let's just see what the connection points look like to the tube socket. And I'm going to have to check this better under better lighting conditions and put some magnification on where I can see what the heck is going on underneath here. can see the power cord, coming in here, and some of this does appear to loop back through. Very strange. And there's a strain relief too for the power cord. Either way, it should make for a fun set. Let me take a closer look here at the cabinet inside. And one more glance here at the chassis on the outside on the sheet metal. See if I see anything marked up. And again, I don't, other than what we looked at here. Nothing here marked on the bottom side, and nothing inside. Ah. So there we have it. I think this is the piece here that was missing off of the front. First glance, looks like a Majestic, but my camera to focus here. It's actually a Majestic International. And I think I remember reading up on this company before. I've got to go back to the Antique Radio forum and refresh my memory, but I believe they were a knockoff company doing business using the Majestic name without their permission, if I recall correctly. I remember doing some research on TRF sets that I could not identify, and ran across that. So that may explain the weird tube design as well. Like I said, the inside of this wooden cabinet doesn't smell the best, but I think that is the original grill cloth and insert. Let me look at that from the front side one more time. And there you can see the cabinet is warped or bowed. Hopefully I can just clamp that back in place and bring that back together. And I'm assuming if this is correct, and let's see. Yep. And I'm glad someone took the time to throw that back in the cabinet itself. That's pretty cool, because you can see there where it was nailed down, even though this piece of veneer has fallen off and been discarded. Not sure if I'd ever figured out who made the radio. Now the cool part, we'll go do some research on the schematic itself and see what I can uncover. If you guys find something before I do, please leave it in the comments of the video. Again, what appears to be a small TRF back from the early to mid 1930s, and we'll call it the Majestic International for now, unless we find out otherwise. Okay guys, check this out. I did some more just rough cleaning here of the chassis. Look what I came about. I've got something here marked 1936. And I just can't quite make out the first thing above 1936. I'll have to look at that closer. But somebody's put the tube numbers on here that match what was in the radio. The 6D6, the 6 Charlie 6, the 43 audio output tube, and here's the oddball in my mind. Definitely 2 rectifier tubes, the 6 Z5 here, and it shows another 6 Z5. So this would be a first for me. Matter of fact, again, I've never even worked on a radio that had the 6 Z5 rectifier, much less 2 rectifier tubes. So again, anyone watching has any information, let me know. I can't find a schematic, so my plans will be to strip this thing down and just create a new hand-drawn schematic before I start the restore. What an oddball. But again, I think it all comes back to you know, this knockoff company that took some of the Majestic parts that were left over, and again, Majestic International would be my best guess at this point in time on the radio itself. Thanks again for watching.